Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. All right, everybody. I'm back. Good to be back. So do want to talk a little college football. We will do our playoff stuff on Monday, full show on Monday. We'll kind of preview the 4 big games coming up on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Today, though, I do want to look back on a game from Saturday that I think we were all kind of looking forward to that unfortunately didn't quite live up to the expectations. That, of course, is the Alamo Bowl featuring BYU and Colorado. Coming in, listen, BYU, we'll talk about them in a minute, but 10-win team, great story in their own right. But listen, I think I'm like everybody else. I kind of fell into the narrative of this is going to be a celebration of Shedeur Sanders, of Travis Hunter, of this era of Colorado football, one that went from 1-11 2 seasons ago to 9-3 this year. You have a Heisman Trophy winner. And again, this will be a celebration of the Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders era before they move on to the NFL. And Colorado moves in a different direction with Caden Salter and Julian Lewis and all the guys that are coming in next year, in addition to, of course, the guys that will still be there. Well, I bring it up solely to say things, if you were a Colorado fan, did not go to plan. Final score 36-14. Transparently, BYU is the better team from start to finish. Transparently, the game wasn't even as close as that final score indicated. And I want to break it down, but I got to say, like, there are some really dumb narratives coming out of this game that absolutely have to be addressed as BYU gets the win, Colorado gets the loss. Again, closing out the Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Shiloh Sanders era of Colorado football. First off, before we get into Colorado, before we get into some of just the dumb takes that came out of Saturday, let's take half a second. We got to give credit to BYU, right? BYU is kind of an interesting story. And I even tweeted this from my personal account at Aaron_Torres over the weekend, is that because there were so many great stories in college football, including specifically in the Big 12, Arizona State picked to finish 16th. They win the league. Colorado picked to finish whatever, 11th or 12th. They obviously had a 9-win season. Indiana was a great story. SMU was a great story. BYU kind of got lost in the shuffle as just a legitimately awesome college football story. BYU picked to finish 13th going into the season. No real expectations. They finished 10-2 in the regular season. Listen, top 15 defense. They forced as many turnovers as anybody in college football during the regular season. And transparent, look, obviously a couple things go Colorado's way. They're playing in the Big 12 championship game. But by the way, a couple things go BYU's way. They're playing in the Big 12 championship game as well. And I don't think it's far-fetched to say, and we'll get back to Colorado in a second, that BYU easily could have won the Big 12 and been in the playoff. Remember, this was a team that it came down to the final play at Arizona State before they were officially put away. You mean to tell me that if you face Arizona State on a neutral field, this Colorado team on a neutral field, whoever, that you can't win the Big 12 and go to the college football playoff? Of course, it seems silly. So credit to BYU, 11-win season now. And again, slightly different circumstances. They're in the college football playoff. I'll even take it a step further. I saw a lot of BYU fans in the process of the college football playoff ranking saying, why are we not getting more consideration? We actually beat SMU head-to-head. We have the same number of losses. We should be getting in over SMU. It does not happen, but we got to give credit to Kalani Sitake, that entire staff, that entire program for an incredible season. The thing is, though, whenever Colorado is involved, the team that beats them is never going to get the credit that they deserve. And of course, every time Colorado is not successful, you are just going to hear yelling and screaming from the dumbest corners of the internet. Okay. And so it's crazy because obviously, look, we just spent a minute talking about BYU, this incredible season that they just had. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of naive. I'm kind of an idiot because I thought after the Alamo Bowl, okay, things don't go as planned, but we're going to celebrate Colorado in the same way, right? 9-win season. We've talked about it a million times. Coach Prime took over the worst program in the power conferences when he got to Colorado. They're at 9 wins. He's created hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue for the university. He's brought a Heisman Trophy winner. And yeah, things didn't end as planned. And no, this isn't, Georgia or Texas or whatever. but at the same time, we're going to celebrate everything that happened. Instead, it was the exact opposite. All the people that have been waiting weeks and months to pile on Colorado, tell you how terrible they are, tell you how overrated they are, tell you how awful Coach Prime is. They're going to tell you they came out of the woodwork big time on Saturday night. So I just need to take a second to dispel some of the really, really, really dumb narratives that I saw come out over the course of the last couple days. So first of all, I saw this on Sunday morning. Now, admittedly, it's from an account that really has essentially no following, but it's Mayo at YDK1107 tweets. And by the way, producer Matt's not working this week. He's off till New Year's Day. So I bring it up because I don't have the tweet to pop up. But this guy tweeted out, fun fact, Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter have 0 combined wins versus ranked opponents in their 2 seasons in D1 at Colorado. All overhype industry plants. Okay, so that was the first really dumb narrative that I've seen. Love the industry plants thing, by the way. But first of all, this is not only a dumb take, this is a factually incorrect take, right? Because what was literally the first game of the Coach Prime, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter era? It was a game against the 17th ranked TCU Horned Frogs, defending national runners-up. If I remember correctly, Colorado beat them. It was an awesome game. Shedeur Sanders threw for a bunch of yards. Travis Hunter put his name on the map if it wasn't already. Jimmy Horn played well in that game. Xavier Weaver, a name if you remember from last year. So they did beat a ranked team, literally to start the regime. Now, if you want to argue that, well, TCU did not finish the season ranked, okay, that's fine. But guess what? There's a lot of teams that beat teams that look good in the moment that don't end up being very good. And frankly, even in college football this year, there were a lot of teams that we thought were good that never beat a ranked team that made the college football playoff. We've talked about it on this show a million times over the last month. Texas, 0 ranked wins during the regular season of this college football season. Didn't beat a ranked team until they beat Clemson in the opening round of the playoff. Indiana, 0 wins over ranked teams in college football this season. So this is not new. This is not surprising. Colorado is not the only one. And then beyond that, what I would also say is this. Like, listen, I know we don't celebrate wins over bowl-eligible teams or 8-4 teams. Colorado did beat some good teams. Baylor, right now, is 8-4 going into its bowl game on, I guess it would be Tuesday, New Year's Eve day, against LSU. Baylor very well could finish 9-4. If they beat LSU, they'll finish 9-4. I think they'll be ranked. So don't tell me they haven't beaten anybody. Texas Tech was an 8-4 team in the regular season that just lost their bowl game. So a pair of 8-win teams. Colorado beat, 1 on the road. By the way, it's worth noting, Texas, you know how many 8-win teams they beat? Forget ranked teams. You know how many 8-win teams Texas beat? 0 in the regular. Well, they beat 1, Texas A&M. By the way, that was in the regular season. Indiana beat 0 teams that finished with 8 wins in the regular season. So stop acting like Colorado's the only one. The second one, and this was from somebody responded to one of our tweets from our Torres on CU account. By the way, if you are a Colorado fan and you're not following Torres on CU, that is our new Colorado page, specifically all things Colorado all the time. Do me a favor. You want to support the show, follow Torres on CU, and you'll know whenever I'm talking Colorado. But at the same time, this stood out to me and this made me laugh. The account put out a tweet where we basically said, like, look, I'll just read you the tweet verbatim so that there's no misconception, because I thought it was a well-constructed tweet after the game on Saturday night. So the tweet goes out on Saturday night. It says, Colorado finishes 9-4 overall. Don't let the critics fool you. This was a wildly successful season as Coach Prime brought the second 9-win season in 20 years, a Heisman Trophy, the likely number 1 and number 2 picks in the draft. The future is bright. Well, it was funny because as soon as that tweet goes out, you know what? Somebody responds in the comment section. This just shows you how dumb people are on the internet. Let's take a look here really quick. Let me find this response here because this was so stupid. It made me just comment. First of all, people said the likely number 1 and number 2 picks in the draft, 0% chance. Yeah, just check mock draft boards. Like, that's not my opinion. Just trust the people that do this for a living. Let me go ahead and check. I want to find this. Okay, this was the tweet from John Ricard. Wow, John Ricard, you don't know ball. He said, quote, if you have the number 1 and number 2 picks in the draft, you shouldn't be 9-4. That is literally one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And literally those two things do not correlate. You know how I know? Because last year, Caleb Williams was the number one pick in the draft, and he went 7-5 as the quarterback of the USC Trojans and ended up as the number one pick of the draft. So if Shador goes 9-3, 9-4 the bowl game with Travis Hunter, what about Caleb Williams? Went 7-5 last year as the number one pick in the draft. If you want to argue, well, it's the number one and number two pick in the draft, well, guess what? Jaden Daniels, who last time I checked is playing pretty well in the NFL, he went number two. LSU went 9-3 overall in the regular season. Not sure if you're great at math, but that's the exact same regular season record that LSU had, or that Colorado had this year. By the way, if you want to argue, well, I mean, we're talking about the number one and number two picks in the draft. What are you talking about, Torres? Well, guess what? Jaden Daniels is the number two pick in the draft, went 9-3 overall as the starting quarterback. Guess what? He also had on that team the number 6 pick in the draft, Malik Neighbors. So LSU, with the number 2 and number 6 picks of the draft, went 9-3 last year. Also kind of worth noting, they had the number 23 pick in the draft with Brian Thomas. Both of their starting left tackles will probably go in the first round this year. So you're probably talking about 3 or 4 top 10 picks off that roster that went 9-3. So one literally has nothing to do with the other. And this idea that it's somehow a knock that they only won 9 games, I just don't know what to tell you. And so I want to take a moment. I've given you all the stats. I've given you everything. You know, I've given this take a million times over the last 2 or 3 months, but I just want to take a moment and say, you know, thank you, Coach Prime. Thank you, Shador. Thank you, Travis Hunter, for an incredible 2 years of memories. This was as fun of a college football story as there has been to cover. I know it didn't end perfectly. I know it didn't end in a college football playoff appearance. That's not how it usually works for most of these teams and most of these programs. It's a process. They took over the worst situation in college football. I still go back to the day that Coach Prime showed up and said, "This is my son Shador. He's your quarterback. I'm bringing my luggage. It's Louis." And I've enjoyed this story, and I've enjoyed following this team in this program for the last 2 years. It's been unbelievable, and I still can't believe after a 9-4 season, after a Heisman Trophy, after all of this, all of the hate that is still going on. You know, really quickly, we'll have plenty of NFL draft coverage over the course of the next, 4 or 5 months into April and early May. Excited to see where Shador Sanders' future lies. Excited to see where Travis Hunter's future lies. And most importantly, I'm excited about the future of the Colorado Buffaloes. Have said from the beginning, I don't think Coach Prime's going anywhere. I think he wants to coach young men at the college level, help develop them from boys to men. And I think he's got an intriguing team coming in next year. Caden Salter will likely be the starter quarterback. Julian Lewis will get plenty of reps. A lot of talent returning. Draylon Miller, Jordan Seaton on the O-line. The defense has plenty of guys coming back. And I, for one, am excited. Do me a quick favor. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to follow our Torres on CU account, Torres on CU. All late-breaking Colorado news. That's, of course, on Twitter. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at Aaron Torres Pod. Appreciate your support. And like I said, we're not stopping talking Colorado throughout the offseason. Cannot wait. Going to try to get out there for spring practice this year. We'll see if it happens. Appreciate everybody's support.